I'm especially excited to show it to you guys Qanipalaat in this video because he is a pretty good operator for you to consider building. So let's start off with this stage of SV5 where I'm going to be showcasing his skill 1. His skill 1 is a skill that you're going to use more rarely, but nonetheless, I'm going to show it to you guys so that you know when are certain good scenarios that you can use this skill. Let me place a mulberry behind so that she can heal the elemental damage, and I'll use gravel to wake up the flower on the bottom left as well. So, notice on the top right of the screen, there are these flying mobs that are into the stage. And the trouble is that the only range unit that I can possibly use to handle them is Qanipalaat. So for now, Qanipalaat is going to be attacking these guys. But notice these two other enemies that's coming down the middle, they will be considered closer to the blue box, and Qanipalaat will end up attacking them instead. So, his first skill reads that his ASPD will increase, and he prioritizes attacking aerial enemies. So, by turning on his skill, boom, he'll start attacking all of these flying drones, and he won't be helping in terms of attacking the enemies in the middle. Unless there are no more aerial enemies in range, then Qanipalaat will end up focusing in the middle part of the map. So this is pretty darn good if let's say you're hit with a scenario where maybe you can't bring snipers in the stage, or if not, maybe you're playing IS and Qanipalaat is the only person who can deal with the drones, or if let's say you realize that the drones are weak to arts damage, then maybe this kind of prioritization could be really helpful to use. So that's that for his skill 1, but let's move on to the real bread and butter, which is skill 2. Now we're still playing the same stage of SV5 to showcase Qanipalaat's skill 2, but this time we've brought in a sniper. Usually in most stages that you play, you will be able to take snipers to handle things like flying mobs. But in this scenario, let me show you how his skill 2 can help in a different way. So, his skill 2 reads that it deals 60% attack as arts damage to at most 2 ground enemies within range once every 0.5 seconds, and these 2 ground enemies will levitate for 7 seconds. Depending on the weight of the enemy, if the enemy has 3 or more weight, the levitation will be cut by half to 3.5 seconds. So when the levitation ends and the enemy falls back down to the ground, he will deal 230% attack as arts damage to all enemies in that area of the person who just got levitated. So levitate is a really good status ailment in this game because it basically stuns the enemy while they are floating up in mid-air. So we're going to see how this is very helpful over here. First off, what I'm going to do is I will simply attack this flower with a Project Red. And then I will use Aketo right over here. So Aketo is going to hit the flower that is on the top there. And notice the two of them just running straight down. Now, with them close into Mr. Qanipalaat's range, I actually levitate them away from Qanipalaat. So this actually causes a very small to no amount of sanity damage onto Qanipalaat or Blaze because they are actually a distance away. So this is one of the unique ways that you can use Qanipalaat in order to help you in stages. You use it like a stun so that you can actually hold the enemies back, basically. So I'm going to do the same thing over here again. Let's just attack. And then notice that this flower is coming straight in. And then I levitate it. Put it far away from me so that it doesn't get into range, basically. The great thing about Qanipalaat's skill 2 is that you're able to deal a huge chunk of arch damage, focus firing onto 2 selected enemies. So let's take this same skill into this stage of 715. Notice that I've already set up the operators over here, I've got the necessary healing power, and I also have Irene being buffed by Stainless such that he's giving her SP recovery. Then notice that there is this shield guard that's right over here. So Irene is actually able to levitate enemies, but because of the shield guard's weight, it won't be levitated for too long. It will actually fall back down in just a little while. So by using Qanipalaat together with Irene, what you can actually do is you can lift up the shield guard again in order to enjoy the full defense down mechanic that Irene has. When Irene is battling against an enemy on the ground, she has a 50% chance to ignore 50% defense. But if the enemy is being levitated, that chance is increased to 100%. Which is why Qanipalaat and Irene is a really good synergy. In the future, there's also a 6-star called Hoheyak who can also levitate enemies and enjoy some bonuses when it comes to aerial units. And it doesn't only apply to people like Irene. If let's say you're having snipers and these snipers are attacking the aerial enemies as well, because the moment you levitate them, your anti-air snipers will actually focus fire on them. Qanipalaat synergizes really well with such operators. So this is a use case as to why you might want to consider having a Qanipalaat into your account. one final stage to showcase Qanipalaat, and this is on the stage of DM7. So in the previous stage, I was mentioning how he synergizes really well with operators like Irene, Holheya, and if not, marksman snipers. But in this scenario, I'm going to pair him together with casters. And the reason for that is because of his talent. His talent reads that he inflicts 10% Arts Fragility onto all aerial units within range. Arts Fragility basically means that these aerial units will receive 10% more Arts damage, not just from himself, but anybody as long as they are within his range, which is a really powerful talent to have. At Elite 2, this will go from 10% to 20%, and if you do level up his modules, it will also increase in this particular area. So notice there are lancers coming straight in. What I'm going to do is I'll just levitate these lancer, and then there will be Mostima kind of helping to add a little bit more damage onto the lancer as well. Let me turn on Mostima's skill because there is no skill from Qanipalaat to help me levitate that guy for now. But in the later lancers, I will still continue to use Qanipalaat's skill. So notice there's another one coming straight in. And then I'm gonna just levitate him right where Aya is, so that Aya can also help to focus fire onto that same lancer. So this is a really nice use case for Qanipalaat also. Pair him together with all sorts of different people, and you can see Qanipalaat really adding so much value into your account. So let me do a levitation right over there. And there's even going to be a point in time where there are two lancers coming in to Qanipalaat's range. And I will time it really sweetly to ensure that they get levitated. So notice at this point, we've got lancer number 1 on the top and then another one. So levitate them and boom! Handle them just easily, as simply as that. So stun them in range in order to kill them and also not have their movement speed to be very high. So that's that for all my stages, and let's talk about whether you should build him or not. To get a Qanipalaat, you can purchase him from the Purchase Voucher store, and he costs 600 with vouchers. So it's pretty pricey, but is it worth for you to buy him and at the same time build him? If you're a new player into the game and you've already done a lot of pulls, and you find yourself not having very good arts damage source, then I would say Qanipalaat can be a pretty decent investment because of the fact that he can levitate enemies, which is essentially a stun. Status ailments like stun, slow, and bind in the game can be really helpful in ways that you don't expect. It might take you time to learn such abilities, but when you can deal them, then you will create unique strategies to handle some of the toughest stages. But if your account is very established like mine over here, where you have a lot of different casters, then it depends on the operators that you currently own. Because Qanipalaat gives you this unique ability to lift enemies off the ground, if you have really strong marksman snipers that can synergize well with him, like for example maybe using an Ashe, whereby you levitate him and then you turn on Ashe second skill in order to do the huge damage onto this flying mob, or if you have an Irene in your account, lift off, the enemy drops back down, lift it off again, then I would say Qanipalaat is still a pretty good person to take into the game. He does introduce ways of tackling stages that is very new, and I expect it to be even more because next time there will be more units that can actually levitate people off the ground. So that's that for his operator showcase. I hope that you've learned quite a bit about him, and if not, I shall see you in the future operator showcases as well. Take care, bye bye.